Hey everybody, it's GauntletX, and welcome back to some more Magic Arena. Today I'll be playing another Innistrad Midnight Hunt Premier Draft, and we have a sweet rare. Lysa, Forgotten Archangel is a 5-mana 4/5 flying lifelink, already a fantastic deal. A little bit of a difficult mana cost, but that is more than paid for with those abilities. Plus, whenever another non-token creature you control dies, you get to return it to your hand at the beginning of the next end step. And if a creature an opponent controls would die, you exile it instead. That is actually relevant in this format as well, with all of the creatures that can come back from the graveyard in various ways or give you value from the graveyard. So really happy to start off with a super powerful bomb angel like Lysa, Forgotten Archangel. And I want to inform you right now and I guess alert you right now that I'm gonna call Lysa something different every time that I see that name because the spelling's really weird to me and I have no idea how to pronounce it. Anyways, pack 2 here, Gavony Dawnguard's a pretty sweet uncommon, so follow that up. Gavony Dawnguard being a 3-mana 3/3 with Ward 1, so a little harder to target. It starts the day-night cycle. Day-night, of course, if you cast no spells during the day, you flip to night. If you cast 2 spells during the night, you flip to day. That is no spells in one turn, or 2 spells in one turn. So as day and night flip with Gavony Dawnguard, you'll be looking at the top 4 cards of your library, potentially revealing a creature with mana value 3 or less from among them and putting it into your hand. So over the course of the game, this can be quite a solid card draw engine in any deck with a lot of cheap creatures. So Gavony Dawnguard, pretty sweet there. What on earth is Necrosynthesis? Because that is one heck of an artwork. 2 mana for an aura. Whenever another creature dies, put a +1/+1 counter on it, and when enchanted creature dies, look at the top X cards of your library, where X is the power, put 1 into your hand, and the rest on the bottom. Seems probably not terrible. I don't know if I'm going to take it here. Definitely good with Decayed Zombie tokens. The Decayed Zombies are the 2/2 zombies you have to sacrifice after they attack. They also can't block. But the main thing, those zombies are just going to keep dying. You'll get a bunch of +1/+1 counters on this thing. And the thing that makes it playable is the fact that even if your creature gets removed, you are drawing a card off of this. So, yeah, maybe Necrosynthesis is okay, but I definitely know that Siege Zombie is awesome. This card is really, really good with Decayed Zombies. It's a 2-mana 2/2, so it starts your aggressive curve well, whether or not you're using its ability, and it also just happens to be a great top deck late game. If you're an aggressive deck, you can use this to finish off your opponent's life total by tapping some of your creatures, and if you're any deck that's producing creature tokens at all, you'll have a lot of creatures out to tap and have your opponent lose life, so Siege Zombie is actually going to be my pick there. Even though it's just a common, it's just quite a powerful one. So I don't know what I want in this pack. I don't love Blade Brand. It's good with like 1/1 tokens that can actually block or just small creatures trading up. Not really good with Decayed Zombies. Sun Gold Barrage isn't always going to kill something against the werewolf decks. You'll be happy with it though. I guess the Outland Liberator is a pretty good deal. 2 mana for a 2/2 or potentially a 3/3 during the night. You can also use it to destroy artifacts and enchantments. But it is off color here. We're trying to be just like black-white. I guess we go Blade Brand. Lysa is just such a strong card that we're going to do a lot of work here to stick to white-black if we can. So we'll take a mediocre kind of black card here, a little bit more filler of a card over one of those other colors of cards here. Now here we have a lot of sweet options. Vampire Interloper is good if you're really aggressive. This is just a way to just keep hitting your opponent for 2. Sure, it can't block, but just puts your opponent on a clock, keeps them taking damage. Dual Craft Trainer is a great Coven card. If you have Coven being 3 creatures on the board with different power, so a 1 power creature, 2 power creature, 3 power creature, anything like that, you'll be giving something double strike every turn, so that's super aggressive. And then there's also Search Party Captain, which is just a good deal. 4 mana for a 2/2 and you draw a card, but it costs 1 less for each creature you attacked with. So if you're on an aggressive start, that can be a really cheap, really efficient card there, just like 2 mana for a 2/2 draw card. So here we have Homestead Courage or Gavony Trapper. I don't think we're aggressive enough to want to be throwing some counters on some stuff, so I'll take the Gavony Trapper here. Decent, a little bit flexible card here. On the aggressive, you shut down a good blocker with it, and on the defensive, shut off their good attacker. A little bit expensive to tap things down, being 2 mana instead of 1, but still a fine card to have one of in your decks. Here I think we'll take Silverbolt. This card has worked pretty good. There's a lot of like decent creatures with good effects that have 3 or less toughness for this to kill, and a good chunk of the larger creatures are going to be werewolves, and this of course will kill werewolves as well, even if they have more than 3 toughness. So Silverbolt's been pretty okay here, and we'll just scoop it up. Scoop it up, maybe play around with it here. Now, here's a card that's been excellent. Gavany Silversmith, 4 mana for a 2/3. When it enters the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on each of up to 2 target creatures. It can put a counter on itself, so even if you have no creatures on board, it's a 4 mana 3/4, which is not a bad failsafe. Definitely not great, but when you have at least one other creature on the board, it is just excellent. Getting 4 power and 5 toughness for only 4 mana. Spread wherever you want among your creatures, really. So here we have No Way Out. I don't really like Mind Rot effects. They're too high variance for me. They're bad draws off the top of your deck. This does mitigate that a little bit by giving you a zombie token as a little prize, but still not great. That being said, how committed are we to like white-black here? Could take just a decent red card. Yeah, I'm going to take a decent red card. I think it's pretty much impossible that I'll play that Mind Rot effect. So we'll take a little bit of red stuff. It's possible. Lysa does cost double white and only a single black, so you could splash in black and be like white and some other color and still splash her in. So we'll potentially start taking some red cards here, I guess, because they seem to be open. All right, Necrosynthesis still in here. We could try it out. Again, it doesn't look excellent, but if your creature doesn't get killed the second you target it with this, then, like, your worst case scenario, you're not getting 2 for 1. You are drawing a card off of this. So we'll maybe try out the Necrosynthesis here for variety's sake. And I'm just going to keep grabbing random red cards, I guess. Well, Path to Festival is actually one of the better cards if you end up splashing, so for like white, green, splash, black, just because this makes it really easy to splash. This grabs the color you're trying to splash for, and flashbacks. Wow, Ardent Elementalist is an incredible card, though, to see pick 13. This is just really good. 4 mana for a 2/1 that picks up one of your instants or sorceries. Just a really, really good deal. Better deal than the white common that's a 4 mana 2/2 and you draw a card, because this always draws a relevant card. It draws you usually just a great removal spell from your grave back to your hand, so kind of crazy to see that so late. So maybe we are staying open to red, white, splash, black, because Ardent Elementalist, I think, is a great common. So I see that as a decent signal. Anyways, here we'll take a pretty decent black uncommon, Blood Tithe Collector, 5 mana for a 3/4 flyer. When it enters the battlefield, if an opponent lost life this turn, each opponent discards a card. You really want to trigger that ability for this to be good, because a 5 mana 3/4 flyer is very filler otherwise, but if you trigger the ability, this card has been a pretty decent deal. I actually don't love the Heirloom Mirror. It has been too slow generally. I've played it a few times, but it takes 3 turns to flip it, and after you flip it, it's still a tapped Inherited Fiend there. So really, really long to set this card up, and it is kind of detrimental to do so because you are losing some life. So the Heirloom Mirror just has not been great, but it does look really cool. It's a fun card to try out, so we're not going to take that. We have a Candlegrove Witch as a nice 2 mana 2/2 that can get flying later in the game, or Olivia's Midnight Ambush as a nice cheap removal spell, and if you're flipping between day and night, it is excellent during the night. So I think I will take Olivia's Midnight Ambush here, but Candlegrove Witch has been quite good too, so that's been a relatively high pick. Now we have another Silverbolt, a Champion of the Perished. Very good with Decayed. Whenever a zombie enters the battlefield under your control, get a +1/+1 counter on it. Doesn't care if they're tokens. Gavany Trapper, I don't want a second Trapper though, or Arrogant Outlaw. So I think like Bolt Outlaw Champion here. Haven't been a fan of the Hedge Witch's mask. I think the equipment in the set's generally just nowhere near as good as it was in Forgotten Realms. We really have nothing that makes Decayed zombies right now, but I still feel like Outlaw's just okay here. It's definitely at like its best in the Vampire deck, and Silverbolt we already have one, so I'm going to try out the Champion. Worst case scenario, this is just like a rare draft, I guess you could consider it. But if we do get some zombie stuff, that's going to be great. And here we can take a Diregraph Horde. 5 mana for a 3/4 comes into play with 2 Decayed Zombies. Black and white, we could find some ways to use those zombies. We've already found a Champion of the Perished to use them, and if we get anything that can sacrifice creatures, we can use them with that. We have Siege Zombie to play around with them as well, so Diagraph Horde going to be pretty decent here. Also, if you have just an aggressive enough curve, this can also just be a finisher. Like if you curve out with your 2 mana, 3 mana, 4 mana creatures, bash your opponent for a bunch, sometimes you just play this and then attack with a 3/4 and 2 2/2s the next turn. Even if they only attack once, that can be a big swing to your opponent's life total. So Diagraph Horde, pretty decently happy to take that here. And I'll try out an Ecstatic Awakener here. Have played with this card a few times and it has been good, but I am again still a little worried about our lack of token production. We're going to want some more to make this card really good. So definitely looking for token production highly now. Or just recurring creatures like Morning Patrol do work as well. 3 mana for a 2/3 Vigilance, and it comes back from the graveyard as well for 4 mana as a 2/1 Flying Vigilance. So 2 creatures off the 1 card is always a good deal, especially when we're looking for things to sacrifice. So I'll take the Morning Patrol there. But the Morcrit Behemoth has been pretty great too, just a giant menacer to end the game. I think we're doing okay on ending the game. We just have some big flyers later on. And of course, Diagraph Horde just slamming in for a bunch. Don't love the Homestead Courage. The Sanctifier's been unimpressive to me as well. All it does is let you put some cards from your library into your grave. So a little bit of a Scry there, a little bit of a Surveil. Definitely okay if you have Flashback and Disturb, but we really don't. So I guess I'll take Candle Trap here. Although I've been somewhat unimpressed by this card as well. This just shuts off the card's ability to attack, so it's definitely defensive removal. If you get Coven, you can exile the card, but otherwise, yeah, some great red stuff in here. Sunrise Cavalier and Play with Fire. Don't really want to play a Candle Guide, so I'll just take one of the great red cards. We'll grab a Cavalier, I guess. It's still looking pretty unlikely that we'll be playing red, but like just in case. We only have 1 2-mana creature here, so definitely another Cathar's Commando, although Blessed Defiance would be okay here. Getting another creature out of your card after it trades up is solid when you have ways to sacrifice stuff. Grab a Cathar's here, get a token. Grab the Outlaw now, I guess. Scab Wrangler still in here is a pretty good sign for blue, pick 11. That is just a fantastic way to use your Decayed Zombie tokens. Just have them tap stuff down. And let's see what we get out of pack 3 here. Ghoul Caller's Harvest. Splash a little green to make a bunch of Decayed Zombies, but that seems like probably not worth the splash. Vengeful Strangler could be solid here. This is a 2-mana 2/1 that can't block, but you're getting 2 damage in with it every turn, so eventually your opponent is going to want to block and kill this, and when they do, you get to use this as a removal spell. Attach this to their best creature or planeswalker, and all of a sudden you put this card on them that makes them sacrifice a card every turn. So the best way for your opponent to play around this is to just sacrifice whatever you put it on most of the time. So Vengeful Strangler, pretty solid little aggressive card here. I'll scoop that up. Kind of like another Diagraph Horde here, although we've got 3 5-mana cards already. We're doing pretty well there. We've got 3 2-mana creatures. Definitely want like a 4th and a 5th here. Not a lot of 3 mana. We can go with a Shady Traveler. I guess especially with the Gavany Dawnguard, we want a lot of creatures with mana value 3 or less. So take the 2 or 3 drop creature here. Seems fine to me. Cathar Commando or Shady Traveler. I'll go with the Shady Traveler here. 3 mana for a 2/3 menace isn't the worst deal ever. And whenever it's a 4/4 menace, you're incredibly happy. So Shady Traveler's been pretty decent filler. Morcrit Behemoth, I think again we're doing okay on our big cards, but that is a very big card. Candle Traps, okay. I already have 1 and I don't love the card, so I don't think I'll take another, or another Ecstatic Awakener. I guess Behemoth or Awakener here. I guess I'd rather try out 1 Behemoth over 2 Awakeners. Definitely like Unruly Mob in this kind of deck. A 2-mana 1/1 that gets a +1/+1 counter whenever a creature we control dies, so it can get really big throughout the game. Blood Pact is a solid draw spell too. Instant speed to draw 2 cards is pretty good, and the 2 life loss is not that detrimental. But I'm still looking for some premium 2-mana creatures, and Unruly Mob seems like a decent one to me. Ooh, Hobbling Zombie is great for these decks. 2 creatures in one, a 2/2 Death Toucher and then a Decayed Zombie, so it gives you 2 death triggers in that way for cards like Unruly Mob. It trades up into things on the Death Touch. That's just super good for these kind of decks. That being said, Search Party Captain, also super good. We can cast it for cheap, draw a card when we play it. Really hard choice between these two. I think these are both excellent, Hobbling Zombie and Search Party Captain. But I'm more concerned about my lack of tokens and like creatures that replace themselves than my lack of card draw, so we'll grab the Hobbling Zombie there. And another Unruly Mob or an Evolving Wilds looks like the choice here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 creatures at 2 now. We're doing okay there. We'll grab an Evolving Wilds. Another Evolving Wilds or a Ritual of Hope. Ritual of Hope actually has been a pretty decent combat trick, so I'll take that. In the early game, it's a combat trick that just makes your 2/2 beat their 2/2, and in the late game, it's an Anthem effect that just buffs your whole field. Not an Anthem effect, an inspired charge effect that can help you get lethal. So Ritual of Hope's pretty good. Take a Sun Gold Barrage here. Don't know if we're playing it, but only on color card there. Take another Silver Bolt. Soulguide Gryph's okay, but I think that our Blood Tithe Collector's better. We already have 2 flyers at 5 mana, and we have 2 other cards. I think our 5 mana stuff's pretty full up. I'll take a Silver Bolt. Not going to play the Scarecrow, but it has some beautiful artwork, so we'll take it anyway. Grab our last copy of Stuffed Bear, I suppose. If you're ever looking to see how much you own in your collection during a draft, just hold the Alt key as you're drafting. And that will that'll tell you when you're rare drafting at the end, whatever commons you don't have, as I am doing in this pack. Just filling out the collection here. Alright, so this seems like a solid deck. We've got some bomby stuff like Laisa. Definitely missing out on the synergy front, I think. We don't have that much in terms of token production. Like, we have nowhere near as much token production as I would hope. 19 creatures here, so for just your average limited deck, 17 creatures is a really nice baseline, so we could just cut 2 non-creatures and 2 creatures to make it simple. I kind of want to cut Candle Trap before I cut Silverbolt. That's how far down I've fallen on the card, but I see a lot of people running it, and I see it being pretty decent for a lot of people, so I could be wrong on there. And I am actually going to end up cutting the Necro thing, I think, the Necrosynthesis. I just don't know if we have room for an aura here, even if it does replace itself, so it's not terrible. Although at the same time, I am still running a Sun Gold Barrage now, and I don't love that. We could cut the Barrage and throw the Necrogenesis in, but we also don't have much in terms of ways to kill big creatures. We have the Bolts to kill small creatures. We have some combat tricks here. I guess we have a Death Touch card to kill a big creature, and I guess Midnight Ambush when it's nighttime will do it. But all in all, I don't think we're doing super well on big creature removal, so we'll keep the Barrage in here over the Necrogenesis. And what do we want to do in terms of how we're cutting creatures? We have Trapper, Champion of the Perished. We might have to cut Champion of the Perished, just because we don't have that many Decayed Zombies. We have the Champion. We have 5 zombies total that aren't Decayed Zombies, that are just straight up zombies. We have Siege Zombie. Hobbling Zombies, definitely good with Champion of the Perished. But then our other zombies are 1,000,000 mana. Moorcrut, Behemoth, and Diograph Horde. Diograph Horde does work well with it, but the Behemoth does not. I kind of like cutting the top and bottom end of the curve a little bit, like cut the behemoth, cut the champion, seems fine to me. Although we don't have a lot of great ways to use the Ecstatic Awakener, so maybe this actually isn't that good in this deck. No incredibly expendable creatures, really. Until like 3 mana. I guess Strangler is very expendable, but these other 2-drops are not. And then the only 3-drop that's really expendable is the Hobbling Zombie. None of our instants and sorceries make tokens. So I guess we don't have expendable creatures till our 4-mana Clarion Cathars and our 5-mana Diregraph Horde. I'm actually pretty in for cutting the Ecstatic Awakener. In which case we put back Champion of the Perished, or we put back Morkrut Behemoth. The worst case scenario on Morkrut Behemoth, you could still just cast it as a 7-mana, 7/6 menace, even if you don't have an expendable creature out. And being a 5-drop, it gives us more time to draw potentially Hobbling Zombie, Clarion Cathars, or Diregraph Horde. So I feel like I like Behemoth better than the Champion here. Yeah, we'll throw the Behemoth in here, and this will be the 40-card deck. Not in love with this, but it doesn't look horrible. Alright. Yeah, I think we have a deck here. Just gonna call it Forgotten Archangel here, just because I can't figure out how to say Laisa. And I don't want to think about that again. I have drafted a deck with her before on Twitch. The Twitch is in the link below if you want to see some live drafts for practice. But yeah, I'm gonna give up on pronouncing her name correctly. So here we are in round 1. We do have Gavany Dawnguard coming out no matter what. Here a single black source makes the whole hand active. I'm gonna keep this. Larder Zombie will start things off from our opponent. Our opponent is planting their foot in the ground. They are going to be making a bunch of decayed zombies and using them to mill themselves and cast things from their graveyard. Larder Zombie, a big sign for what you're trying to do. Just a defending zombie that taps things down to mill yourself. And then Otherworldly Gaze here, another card that just mills themselves. They look through the top 3, put them in any order, put any into the graveyard. So blue-green self-mill from our opponent. They mill the forest there, put the rest back. And pass the turn. Well, we will start things off with Gavany Dawnguard here, just because it gets more aggressive than the Hobbling Zombie does. Hits for more damage, plus with that ward ability, it's harder to remove. And Secrets of the Key is the play from our opponent. Gonna get a clue token and sacrifice it immediately to draw a card. The Secrets of the Key, they can also flash back for 2 clue tokens. And Crossroads Candle Guide here, a 3/4 exiles a card when they play it, and for 2 mana, they add a mana of any color. So this, just a 3/4 now that it's on the board, really. I suppose it helps them splash in some off-color flashback stuff, which could be a definite possibility. So we can put a counter on our Dawnguard here, and then we're attacking with it as a 4-power creature, but it just trades with their Candle Guide if they double block, so I don't think that's particularly awesome. Could go for the Dualcraft Trainer, but we're pretty far from having Coven. Then we'll just have 2 3-power creatures on the board, and this card isn't really good until we're giving things double strike. That being said, I highly doubt the right play is to play one of our 2-mana cards here. Or is to play our 3-mana card here, the Hobbling Zombie. So we'll play the Dualcraft Trainer. A Dawnheart Rejuvenator from our opponent, gains some life, add a mana of any color. So this is one of those very multicolored flashback decks, probably. Lysa, Forgotten Archangel is the draw. Wonderful. Absolutely wonderful draw here. If they have removal, I'm going to cry a little, but I don't think that's a big enough reason not to just cast her and make them have it. Because if they don't have it, they just get absolutely slapped here. So Larder Zombie looking at the top card, choosing if they want to throw it in the grave. It is a forest. Into the grave it goes. 6 mana now from our opponent. They have the flashback on Otherworldly Gaze to set up the top cards of their library again, or Secrets of the Key flashing back for 2 more clue tokens. They do have Winterhorn Blessing in hand to keep Lysa tapped for now. I said I wasn't going to mess around with saying her name, but Forgotten Archangel is much longer. So 6 mana now. Can still only cast 1 card this turn. We could hit Coven by playing a Gavany Silversmith and start attacking with Double Strike. Seems good to me. They could have a Devious Cover up here. I'd be a little sad. I don't think that's a reason to play like a Diregraph Horde instead. I guess we could play Hobbling Zombie instead and we still hit Coven. But it's better to hit Coven and get counters on cards. Alright, no counterspell, no Devious Cover up. So we have a 2, a 3, and a 4. Wherever I put these counters, we'll still have more going. So I think we'll throw a counter on the Dawn Guard, a counter on Silversmith or the Archangel. Throw it on the Archangel. Now give the Dawn Guard Double Strike here. If they triple block, we first strike, kill the Candle Guide, and then kill the Larder Zombie in the second one. So we're killing 2 of their 3 creatures. If they block with just the 3/5 and the 1/3, we first strike, kill the Larder Zombie, and then just bounce off the 3/5. If they block with the 3/4 and the 3/5, we first strike, kill the 3/4, and then bounce off the 3/5. Yeah, pretty safe attack here. We're killing at least 2 creatures if they trade, which is fine, because I highly doubt we're ever going to nighttime. Our opponent has like plenty spells to play with all the flashback going on, and I'm not going to want to take a turn off just to flip things to night either. So we're not too worried about the Dawn Guard's effect. So it looks like we just get in for the 8 damage there, put them down to 15. And Secrets of the Key getting flashed back here. They've got a couple clue tokens on board for some card draw. They milled a little 3/1. Otherworldly Gaze again. Look at the top 3. Put any of them into the graveyard and the rest back on top. So, alright, so they just tapped out here, keep Lisa locked in the cemetery. So our attacks really haven't changed here, we're still just super solid. Cast our Diregraph Horde. Get in with the Dawn Guard again. Exile the Winterhorn Blessing from their grave, seems pretty good. Totally forgot the Diregraph Horde exiles cards from the grave too, that's actually sweet. Because that is relevant in a lot of games, as we can see here with the flashback cards from our opponent. Probably should have cast that earlier. I just completely forgot about the fact that exiles cards from their grave. Super good here. So Organ Hoarder comes into play here, looks at the top 3 cards of the library. Mills 2 and puts 1 in hand. Shipwreck Sifters draws a card, discards a card. Definitely the Sultai value pile here with the splashed in Enduring Archangel. You can bring that back from the grave. Flying Double Striker gives them hexproof and stuff. Well, definitely looking for a Silver Bolt to deal with that. Because they are going to resurrect that with Diregraph Rebirth now. Return that from the graveyard to the battlefield. We really only have a good attack with Dawn Guard still. We attack with a 3-3, they block with a 3-4 or 3-5. And if we attack with a 3-4, they can block with both and kill it without losing a creature. So we kill the Sifters here. Play some more creatures. Pass the turn. Enduring Angel is out. Come on, Silverbolt. So what are we looking for here? Yep, 2 Silverbolt, Gavany Trapper. Ritual of Hope would basically give us lethal. Olivia's Midnight Ambush. If we flip to night, we can do that. Vengeful Strangler will do it. Sungold Barrage will not. So we have like 5 pretty good answers that we're digging for here. Dawn Guard, well, none of those are the answers, so that digs us 4 cards deeper towards them, which is nice. So when they go to 0 life, their life becomes 3, they flip it, and whenever they attack, they double their life total. Interesting. Slowgurk here, whenever land is put into the graveyard, they get a +1/+1 counter. Remove 3 to return it to hand, and when it leaves the battlefield, return 3 lands from grave to hand. They've got 3 lands in grave, so that'll give them a little bit of value when it dies. As well as they mill themselves, they'll be getting some value. Alright, they're just going to hit us for 6 here. So if we draw the removal for Enduring Angel, I'm pretty sure we have lethal on board. If not, we lose a lot of creatures to put them to 3, and then they double up to 6. And probably have more creatures left than we do with their high toughnesses. Well, there's a Silver Bolt. Wouldn't have been the draw anyway. Arrogant Outlaw is actually sweet. Put them to 1 life with Arrogant Outlaw after the attack. That is actually legitimately sweet. Oh, and there's Sungold Barrage if that goes up to 4 toughness at any point. Or we can shoot one of their 4 toughness creatures before or after attacks. So they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 blockers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 attackers. 9 to 4. 5 are getting in for at least 2. Oh no, they have 5. We have... Okay, so 4 are getting through. 4 are getting through for at least 2. So this is lethal. This puts them to 3 life. So we could sack the Cathar's Commander to trade up into the 3/4 just immediately before we do anything else. We could also just see based on how they block. But then they could block really smart and block the Cathar's Commando with their Organ Hoarder. Yeah, let's shoot the Candle Guide pre-combat. Oh, wow. I totally forgot about Lysa's effect to bring that back to our hand. That makes things actually just ridiculous. I should have done that earlier then, and we can use it on the locked in the cemetery before our next turn that way. Wait. I don't know what happened there. They died in first strike? They died in first strike and then... Oh no, they took 7 in first strike, which made their Archangel's ability trigger to put them to 3. And then they died again in the regular combat step because they chose not to block anywhere. They had to block the first strikers and they'd survive at 3 there. I mean, we had the Outlaw to put them to 1, plus the Barrage to clear something, so we were in a good position either way, but that was a sad way to end that. They definitely had another turn there. All right, well, that'll be 1-0 to start things off then. Really weird way to end that one, but I'll take it. Game 2 here. Not a great keep for sure, not a great hand for sure, but mulliganing, taking that card disadvantage is always a huge hit. So sometimes it's good to go greedy with it. Unruly Mob. We could trade here and then this flips. That would just be a bad deal. We could just shoot that and then hit for 2 here. Or we could cast Ritual of Hope. Would I rather trade Ritual of Hope for the mob or Silverbolt for the mob? I'd rather trade Ritual, I think, actually. Silverbolt can definitely affect the way they play and make them not want to play like high priority 2-drops early. So like this might keep them from casting Flesh Takers early and just let me set up. I guess they just cast nothing this turn, which is also fine. Not great not to hit the 4th land there, but we kept a 2-lander, so it definitely happens. The 4th land here, though, really activates our hand just as a whole. Gets us doing a lot of stuff. I need to get a drink. My voice is going insane. Diregraph Horde. Apparently I've been recording too much Magic lately and my voice is incredibly dying. I like barraging this Horde so we can keep hitting for 2 with the Strangler. And saving its effect for later. So we are not worried at all about the decayed zombies from our opponent. Opponent has the Extra Life 2019 Ajani sleeves. Very nice. Candle Trap it is. Give the Strangler Defender. And another Diregraph Horde. If they ever get Coven, they get to exile the Strangler as well. I like Clarion Cathars here. We can still use the Strangler with Siege Zombie now. The 3/4 does hold off our attacks, but it doesn't attack in well. Because we can double block with a 3/3 and a 2/2. I guess Siege Zombie's a pretty high priority card. So we wouldn't want to do that. We'd block with like a 3/3 and a 1/1. If they exile the Vengeful Strangler, they just can't attack if they don't exile the Vengeful Strangler. Wait, never mind, this can't block. I did not read the full card. I was just treating it as a must attack card, not a can't block card, so Cantrip Trap actually completely shuts off the Strangler until we draw a sacrifice effect. Which we have very few of. We have more Morkrut Behemoth? That might be the only one. Yeah, we just have more Morkrut Behemoth in this deck. We didn't get any Flesh Takers or something. Black-White wasn't super open here, but again, with a bomb like Lysa, I'm going to hold on for dear life. So they are coming in. I can also just take 3. Like, 3's not much. We can crack back a lot harder. Yeah, we can crack back a lot harder than that. Flesh Taker. Never mind. Flesh Taker with 4 Decayed Zombies. Super uncool. Hobbling Zombie as well with the Flesh Taker. Living the Flesh Taker dream for sure. They only have 1 mana up right now, though, so they can only sacrifice 1 of them currently. Play the Forgotten Archangel here. Now we've got the mana for her. It's pretty great. Yeah, let's do it. Makes any attacks with non-tokens really good, so we'll send in the Cathars. They can sacrifice a Decayed Zombie, but then they throw Cathars back to our hand. And we've gotten one of those out of the way, which is nice. This would be extra excellent if we had any mana up to use our removal stuff, but then we wouldn't have Lysa's ability on the board, so we had to spend all our mana on that. Well, Undrik's Outrider makes blocks and sacrifices super, super bad for us. If we block with Lysa, they sacrifice 2 cards and then we just kill Flesh Taker next turn. But we can also probably just kill Flesh Taker next turn because we have Silverbolt and Midnight Ambush. And as long as Lysa's on the board, they exile everything that gets sacrificed, so they don't actually get +1/+1 counters. They don't actually get a Decayed Zombie out of the zombie. So we block with the 1/1 or the Siege Zombie here. I feel like we block with the... We also could just not block. Yeah, we have Lifelink. We can just not block right now. They hit for 6 maximum. It's not that much pressure here. Alright, so they just hit for the 2. Cool. Unruly Mob. We need 5 mana to bolt plus ambush. So I think we're just holding all our mana up for that. I guess bolt plus ambush actually doesn't kill the Flesh Taker still. But, I mean, Lysa shutting off their death triggers were still super safe, especially if we play Cathars again and get another chump blocker. Probably don't even need Bolt Ambush. Could play Unruly Mob instead here to hold up the mana for one of the 2. But yeah, don't really need it. So they're going to gain some life and scry, dig for some removal here with Flesh Taker. I guess if we played Mob, they might be... We'd stop them from doing that too much, because then we'd have the Midnight Ambush if they stacked it incorrectly. But they wouldn't. They would just do one at a time, and we couldn't get them with the Midnight Ambush. And they would know about Silverbolt, so they wouldn't do it in a way where it could die to Silverbolt. They could play around the removal. Alright, well that turns things right around, because Lice is the biggest thing stopping them here. If Lysa wasn't on the board, they'd already have like 5 +1/+1 counters just from sacrificing decayed zombies. Rite of Oblivion is just an exceptional removal spell in this format. The fact that it flashes back is pretty absurd for the token decks. Do your worst. Yeah, now everything they sacrifice gives a permanent +1/+1 counter to the Flesh Taker. This is not a good spot. Sacrifice a decayed zombie, get a +1/+1 counter, gain a life scry. Think we can get out of this one now, because our removal is just not going to kill that unless we can get it to be nighttime, but we don't have anything to start the day-night cycle right now. And our big bomb is gone. We don't have any great draws at this point anymore, so their field is going to be large and in charge in terms of blockers. Six here, we can play Silversmith and hold up Midnight Ambush. But it's not going to lead to any good attacks. They have a 2/4 and a 4/5. Sure, put a counter there, gets blocked by a 4/5. Put a counter there, gets blocked by a 2/4. These just get blocked by a 2/2. They take 1 damage. We lose all the attackers. Can't set up for good blocks either. I'm actually just going to get out of this one here. The losing games in this format, sometimes they can go on for just forever. To where, like, I'm just pretty sure that we're losing that one, but I don't want to expend the brain power to figure out the best lines to give me the 0.01% chance of winning there. Just want to move on to the next round, because that's not a winning position there. The double up of Ojix Crusaders plus Flesh Taker, stacking their abilities together, is not something we're going to get out of there. Their opponent's on the play with a green deck. They did mulligan here. We're on the draw with a pretty great hand. We have 2 black sources, 2 white sources, and a decent curve. We don't start playing cards till turn 3. But we have plenty of cards to play at that point. So green, white, and blue here using that moon silver key to grab a basic land. We do draw into Lysa, which is great. So Morning Patrol will be the play this turn. Because Arrogant Outlaw gives us a nice enter the battlefield effect if we damage our opponent when we play it. There's the Audrix Outrider again. Fantastic card as we saw last game. Pretty annoyingly good here. It's the only creature on their board, so it's definitely not as good as it was last game, but certainly can be in the future. And there they go, Falcon Abomination with the Decayed Zombie. And a Beloved Beggar. We've got some Silver Bolts, but none of the great black removal in this deck. Pass turn here, hopefully no removal for Lysa. Another Beloved Beggar. So if those come back from the grave, they'll come back as 4/4 Flying Vigilance, but as long as Lysa's on the board, they can't go to the grave, they'll just get exiled. Well, yeah, everything that dies just comes back to our hand, so just slap our opponent here. We also have a little bit of vigilance for blocking stuff. But looks like they're just going to block with the 0/4s, fair enough. We can Ritual of Hope and exile both beggars here, so that seems very good to me. Gets them out of the way, they're exiled, so they don't get a +1/+1 counter, and they don't get to bring them back. So that was all in all a pretty great attack. And opponent is going to scoop them up there. I'm guessing just no removal for Lysa. Will it close that game out? So we are 2-1 now with our Forgotten Archangel deck. Moving on to round 4. Everybody with their Innistrad Mastery Pass avatars. Definitely not a fan of the Mastery Passes as a limited player. It's just straight up getting card styles, and I'm not a fan of the Parallax card styles. So I would say if all you play is limited like me, the Mastery Passes are all a pretty bad deal unless you really like card styles. Because none of the packs that you get out of the passes are packs that you can use to play limited events because of just the way that limited works on Magic Arena. But a lot of people like the cosmetics and like playing constructed. So playing against a red deck here, they start with a Falconwrath Pitfighter, planting their foot in the ground as an aggressive deck here. Probably red-black vampires. Just in the interest of saving some life total here, we can use our Ritual of Hope to trade into the Pitfighter. Not trade into it, but trade the Ritual for it. Because I'm not going to have any plays till like turn 5, so that feels good to me. Just get a card off the board. Morbid Opportunist is a mythic uncommon. Very, very good ability on it. Drawing a card whenever a creature dies. Just draws a ton of cards throughout the game. Every time they play removal, every time they sacrifice a Decayed Zombie, anything like that. It does only trigger once per turn, but it's going to trigger on a lot of turns. Famished Foragers is the play. 4/3. Might as well tap that down just in case I decide I want to attack. Not super likely, though. Here's the Diregraph Horde we'll start using to do some damage with our Siege Zombie. But like this position now from our opponent, they definitely still attack with Foragers, where they might not if they didn't have Morbid Opportunist. Because they do have Morbid Opportunist, they know if they attack with Foragers, like if it trades for Diregraph Horde, that's just a good deal. I trade my 3/4 for their 4/3, but they also draw a card in that interaction, so they essentially cycle the Foragers. They sacrifice it to draw a card, whereas I'm sacrificing the Diregraph Horde just to stop 4 damage while they're drawing a card. So the Opportunist here is going to start showing off its power, drawing a card. They could draw more cards with the Forager's ability here by discarding some lands if they have them. They do have some lands to filter through. And here's the card draw from the Opportunist. And they are passing the turn, so let's get some damage from the Siege Zombies in. Silver Bolts, excellent here. Get rid of the Opportunist. Shut off that card draw, and we'll slam in for 2 with the Siege Zombie, but keep the Decayed Zombies around to do 1 damage every turn. Another Morbid Opportunist? Alright, a sick deck from our opponent for sure. Always going to be a great time if you can get 2 of those. 1 damage to tap all 3 right now, but 2 damage if I tap that down and attack with Siege Zombies. It's actually more damage if I play this way. Ooh, Arrogant Outlaw's a pretty sick draw. And that'll give me the 3rd creature to be able to keep making them lose a life. Even if I attack with the Siege Zombie here, and tap with the Trapper here. So here comes Outlaw, drain them for 2 life here, and get more power onto our board. A Hobbling Zombie. Very good with the Opportunist. It's a 2/2 Death Toucher that creates a Decayed Zombie when it dies. So the 2/2 Death Toucher going to trade well into anything, and then give them a zombie that will also just die. So 2 card draws off the Opportunist. We'll shut off the Hobbling Zombie here so we can attack with our 3/2 against their 1/3. Shady Traveler, a menace creature could be pretty good here. Do like that. They have a combat trick here to win the fight. If they add any toughness to the Opportunist, we can kill it. Ooh. Excellent. Sun Gold Barrage now gets to clear out the Morbid Opportunist. That actually went really well for us. So still have 3 cards in hand now. Send in the Hobbling Zombie, easy no blocks, go to 20. So probably a red or black life lost card here. Gives them a benefit since we lost life. Yep, Bat Whisperer just gives them a 1/1 flyer. So still definitely better than having traded with any of our creatures here. Because our creatures are worth more than a 1/1 Flying Bat and a 2/2 Death Touch. They have 2 mana up here. They're looking through all our cards. Some removal probably. Yep, Eaten Alive. They're going to go ahead and sacrifice the bat to get rid of the Shady Traveler. Sure. It doesn't really matter. We can only do this once this turn either way. So, didn't need to Siege Zombie right then, but yeah, it feels fancy, so might as well. So they're at 11. They're going to take 3 and go down to 8. Or they'll trade the 4/2 for our 3/2. Alright, the 4/2 trades down to the 3/2. They have 1 card in hand and a Hobbling Zombie. I feel like we've got the winning board state here. But it could all change based on how we draw. And how our opponent draws. Tap the zombie. They do have an Arrogant Outlaw, 3/2 here. Drain them a life. Trade our Siege Zombie off, or we can keep hitting for 1 damage a turn. Or just tap Outlaw right now to get 2 damage in right now, but then they crack back for 5. We're at 20. At 20 life here. At 20 life here, I think we keep tapping down the Outlaw and dealing 1 damage a turn. I think that's the plan. It kind of really is whoever draws better at this point then. Because both of our clocks are so slow that neither of us is putting enough pressure to be in the lead. We're kind of just at parity here. Like I take 2 a turn, they take 1 a turn. Eventually we can like attack all out for 6 damage, so I guess we're putting more pressure on. We do win faster. 4 turns from now they'll be at 6 life, and then we tap a blocker during their turn, tap 1 during our turn, send in for 6. So we're very slightly at the advantage here, currently. I suppose if they play it safe and don't attack with the Hobbling Zombie, then we're a little more than slightly at the advantage. Ooh, our own Hobbling Zombie? That is an exceptional draw. Even if they block and trade with it, we'll get a Decayed Zombie to keep attacking with. Well, a Decayed Zombie to attack with 1 time, or to keep tapping. So if they've drawn dead the whole time, this is where we do have lethal. We've got 8 power. They did draw a Blood Tithe Collector. So not quite lethal, but a big enough attack now that I think we go in here. They trade for Siege Zombie for sure here. Take 6, go to 1. But then Gavany Trapper finishes this by tapping their flyer. Oh, they had an actual creature in hand there. So we got an actual good discard off the Blood Tithe Collector. We got them to discard the Morcrypt Behemoth, which is excellent. Neonate's Rush, 1 damage to something, draw a card, see what they draw into. Hungry for more? Alright, gain 3 life. That's something. Yeah, now we put them to 1 when we attack with our flyer. Because of that lifelink. So they survive 1 more turn. I should have attacked with the Hobbling Zombie. That gets the Outlaw out of the way and still keeps us with 2 creatures to attack with against their 1 blocker here. I really should have attacked with Hobbling Zombie. That was a big punt. Much more likely we'd have lethal here if we attacked with Hobbling Zombie, because they'd have to draw into another blocker, because Trapper shuts off the Blood Tithe Collector, and then our Blood Tithe Collector puts them down to 1. Then, of course, the Decayed Zombie from the Hobbling Zombie would put them down to -1 if there was not an Arrogant Outlaw on the board to block with. So this has me concerned that they're attacking like this. Because this means they have some other way to try to survive this turn. Because otherwise we hit them for 5 if we tap down the Arrogant Outlaw. So they must have like removal for Blood Tithe Collector. Instant speed removal probably. Which is uncool. Clarion Cathars is an excellent draw. Alright. Let's see the instant speed removal. There it is, Infernal Grasp. They lose to... Okay, so I guess they die either way, having attacked the way they did. The removal could have had them survive. Because they trade... if they just didn't attack all there, we would still have to tap down the 3/4 flyer, in which case the 3/2 trades for that, and then they lose 2 life to kill the 3/4 flyer, take no damage that turn. Well, take 2 damage that turn instead of 3. So they'd be at 2 life. We wouldn't have that anymore. We would just have a Decayed Zombie, but then Cathars probably closes that game out, but that one was a little weird at the end. But 3-1 it'll be for the Forgotten Archangel deck, so whatever happens now, we've got an average record out of it. A little surprised how that last match went. I think our opponent had probably a more powerful deck than we did, with the double Morbid Opportunists, and then that last removal spell they played, that's also a pretty premium card, so they certainly drafted very well. Okay, well now I can just turn 1 Gavany Trapper. I was going to Evolving Wilds, but they are 1 mana cards and we've got the mana for them. Get that down payment out of the way. Playing against green-white with a Pestilent Wolf to start things off. Throw a Silver Bolt on the board for later to get rid of a removal, or get rid of a werewolf. But we're probably going to Olivia's Midnight Ambush this Pestilent Wolf, give it -2/-2, just because we can. And that card is not going to kill everything that a green deck can play later on. Duel for Dominance. Going to go ahead and trade the Duel for Dominance for our Gavany Trapper. Fair enough. Let's trade our Midnight Ambush for their Pestilent Wolf. Right back at you, opponent. I suppose that would have went really well if we had Midnight Ambush up instead of having played our Evolving Wilds that turn, just played a land, held untapped and responded. We would have killed the wolf and the duel and kept our 0-2. That would have been the dream. So I guess that is important to keep in mind against the green decks in this format, and most limited formats. Green-based removal is going to be based on their creature's power. So if you have something that'll shut off the creature's power, including a removal spell, holding that up at instant speed, sometimes you can get a 2-for-1 against the green decks that way, which is nice. Another duel for dominance, and I have no idea what this snake thing is. The Viper's Fang, a 3-4. All their tapped creatures have Death Touch. Their untapped creatures have Hexproof. They can untap a creature or land. So a 3-4 that gives basically all their attackers Death Touch. A little scary, but our Blade Brand with our 1-1 human can take that out. We can reverse the Death Touch on them. That being said, I'm still going to curve out with Diagraph Horde because it does get really suspicious if I just pass turn, hold 5 mana up here. And we can take a 5 damage hit here if they want to attack with everybody. We'll just not block anything. Not that much damage. Burly Breaker will make it a lot of damage, but Silverbolt can kill that werewolf. And that's Ward 1. Yes, so we can spend 4 mana to kill it and still have Blade Brand mana, so let's do that. Oh, it's hexproof when it's untapped. I guess I have to wait. So we have Vengeful Strangler here. I guess I don't do that. Yeah, so we have to wait till it's tapped, and when it's tapped, they can spend 1 tap this and untap it. So if they attack with just it, the Viper's Fang can save it. That's annoying. Because I don't want to Blade Brand the werewolf because we have Silverbolt. I want to Blade Brand Sereth, but Sereth's just not going to attack as long as the werewolf's out. So I guess we have to get rid of the Blade Brand and let Sereth do her thing. Because if we target this with our Silverbolt here, they'll untap this and give it hexproof. Yeah, Sereth's going to be really annoying to play removal against. So we want to remove Sereth as soon as we can, but Silverbolt only does 3 damage, not 4. So we can't do it that way. Search Party Captain, draw a card, and it's a 2-2. Unruly Mob. Just gets bigger as everything keeps dying. Sereth is irritating here. Just leave everything hexproof. Just not hold up Silverbolt here because there's nothing really important to kill except Unruly Mob, and even if we kill the mob with it, they can just untap the mob in response. Plus it's not going to attack, probably. I guess they have Death Touch while tapped, Hexproof while untapped. So it might. Hound Tamer. Hound Tamer, massive deal here because it gives them a mana sink to keep putting counters on their cards. +1/+1 counter for 4 mana. So in a top deck war like this, anytime that I just draw a land, they're widening the gap in our board state, making their position better. Because if we both just take a turn just drawing a land, they'll get another counter on a card, whereas I'll do nothing. So mana sinks are quite good for positions like this, so I would love to kill Hound Tamer with Silverbolt. We don't really have a way to do that unless it attacks and Sereth is not on the board. So just attack Vengeful Strangler here. If the Strangler dies, we can throw the enchantment onto Sereth. And the Strangler can't block, so just send it in. Flips to Knight here for the Hound Tamer. They're tapped out, so they can't untap a thing, but they're all already untapped with Hexproof, so we can't bolt here. So that works. Brutal Cathar. Ooh, luckily it is nighttime, so it doesn't exile for something when it comes into play, but when it switches back to daytime, it'll exile one of my cards until the Cathar leaves the battlefield. Dual Craft Trainer. Start giving our Vengeful Strangler double strike every time it attacks, I guess. Maybe convince them to block it that way. Because if they block it, we get to throw that as a removal spell onto Sereth. And their whole hexproof nonsense stops. Another counter onto the Rejuvenator. They will take the 4. They don't have any ward anymore, so I'm not going to play this land. Actually, they do a ward of pay 3 life, but they don't have ward that costs us mana anymore. They just have straight hexproof. Was considering playing the land if they still had that ward 1 card out. That way, if Sereth ever gets killed, I have the mana for the Silverbolt there. Sent in the good game incredibly preemptively here. I'm assuming they're saying they have the game because they have the board state pretty locked. Alright, make Sereth bigger, sure. Make the pup bigger. Land for turn and pass. See some attacks now. Yeah, Rejuvenator, the pup, the brute. Yeah, and here's where I have to 2-for-1 myself to kill anything. They have First Strike, Death Touch, Trample on Moonrage Brute, which is insane. They have 8 mana to put 2 +1/+1 counters at instant speed. Yeah, our blocks are just horrible. I would have expected the all-attack here. Sure, we could double block and kill the pup, but everything else just comes in and all their attackers have Death Touch, so every block we make is a definite death on our cards, plus Death Touch Trample. They could even probably find lethal in 2 attacks pretty easily. Yeah, our blocks are horrendous. So I think we just take 4. Sun Gold Barrage. Finally get rid of the hexproof and get rid of the Untamed Pup. Super good. That's what we've been looking for this whole time. And now we're playing with fire. They get 2 more +1/+1 counters. Mob will get big here, but not too big. Yeah, they get 2 counters from the pup. But now we can actually try to make some double blocks. Sure, throw a counter on this so the trade happens here, but then I still get the removal spell out of this, which is great. So I'm gonna shoot the pup because its ability is so important. So I think we throw this on Unruly Mob. We could throw it on Moonrage Brute so they could never flip it, but they need to cast 2 spells to flip it, so I think it won't really happen. Its power toughness isn't that bad. We can block with a 4-4 or 3-4. I guess Pup can put a counter on it and make it a 4-4. Then it's kind of bad, but it's not terrible. I feel like Unruly Mob can get terrible. Yeah, I think we throw it on the mob. Because it's already a 3-3. It's a 4-4 as soon as one of their cards dies. So I'm just go for the Silver Bolt. Let them throw their +1/+1 counter wherever they want. The Moonrage Brute it is. All right. This happens at my upkeep. It's at my upkeep. Okay, weird. So sacrifice a card and lose a life. So they sack the mob to itself. Best way to deal with that card. Make our Predator double strike and then trades with the Brute. Yeah, we don't have good attacks anymore, even with double strike. So, kind of in the top deck war again. Alright, trade here. If we trade here, they have a 4-6 and a 3-3. 4-6 and a 3-3, we could start giving the 3-3 double strike. They block there, we trade, then they have a 4-4. I guess we give this double strike, they block their trade, and then they have a 4-4, and then trade there. I guess the math makes attacking with Predator not terrible. To trade with that Brute. Yeah, the math makes this, I think, work out. Trade with Moonrage Brute. I don't know if they're oopsing me there, but that attack was very intended. Or if they're oopsing, they're not drawing a card. So I guess we don't have Coven anymore, so that doesn't work out. They could be oopsing, realizing they didn't have the double block there. I don't know. Emotes always give me anxiety, is why I usually just don't turn them on. Because it's really easy for each player to misinterpret each other. Ooh, Gavany Dawnguard's a sick draw. Siege Zombie was actually probably an even better draw because we win in board stalls like this, but Dawnguard's a cool draw too, because now we get to potentially draw cards if day and night switch ever again. I guess it is pretty unlikely that we go back to daytime. Somebody needs to cast 2 spells in 1 turn, and neither of us seem to be running flashback cards. But theoretically, the Dawnguard keeps us drawing mana value 3 or less creatures from our deck, which is pretty cool. Candle Trap. They need 1 more power toughness to be able to exile that. For now, it still hits them for 2 a turn, which is great. We're good for now. This is one of those positions where the Candle Trap is not going to be super hot. That's kind of got me to stop playing the card. So they block one thing, they block here, take lethal, right? I guess Siege Zombie doesn't get to attack, but yeah, block, take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right. It's been some long games. I am definitely already a bit tired today. My apologies if you could definitely feel that in some earlier rounds. I think I conceded a little early in one of the games just because too kind of exhausted for that kind of stuff. But I have been playing a boatload of Magic and my days off are over, so it's back to work too. So right back to the burnt out life. The no sleep life. You know how it is. 4 and 1 though. Doing quite well in this draft. See how far we can keep that up. Turn 2 Vengeful Strangler with both colors of mana here is going to be an excellent start. Harvest-Tide Sentry. We don't want to trade with that right now. We want to wait till they have another card to enchant, so we're not actually going to attack with our Strangler. We'll wait till they have 2 non-land cards on board, then we'll attack with it. Alright, switch to Knight. We do get to try to draw a creature off the top, but unfortunately, the creature was the 5th card, and not the 4th card, so we don't actually get to do anything there. I don't want to attack here. I don't want a 3-3 to trade down into the 3-1, and the Strangler, again, we want it to flip when they actually have another non-land permanent. Silver Bolt, that'll shoot the Gavony Dawnguard, but they need another counter. Ooh, they choose to kill the Trapper, alright. So I guess the Dawnguard gets to play around here. Blood Tithe Collectors, interesting. Would I rather Blood Tithe Collector or Moorcrypt Behemoth? If I have Moorcrypt Behemoth, I can sacrifice the Strangler to slap it onto the Sentry. That would be the same as attacking it and trading, but that way I get the discount on the Behemoth where it only costs 5 instead of 7. So yeah, I think I'll go with the Behemoth here. It ended up, the Strangler ended up giving me a slight bit more value than it would have had I attacked and traded, but not a boatload more. We definitely would have rather attacked, traded with the 3-1, and slapped the Strangling Grasp onto another creature, but getting the discount on Behemoth is pretty sweet here too. And yeah, they know it's going to die either way, so they might as well get the 3 damage out of it, or have it die right now. Like, if I block, then they don't take the 1 life. If I don't block, then they take the 1 life when they sacrifice this. I think I'd rather save myself from 3 damage than save them from 1, or then deal 1 more damage to them. Ooh, Midnight Ambush is sweet. It is night, so we can just kill that 6/6 with this. I think I'd rather play Blood Tithe Collector this turn, but it's an option for the future, because we're still hitting for 7 with Menace here. We can take 6 on the Crackback and then hit for 10, 7 Menace and 3 Flying. Plus this way we make them discard a card. Seems very good. I'm going to pass turn here. Phantom Carriage, a 4/4 flyer, so if we Midnight Ambush that, we have 10 unblockable power on our board. So we put them to 3 life. So that's the plan. Let's see what we draw here. Evolving Wilds. We'll use that to thin our deck out, get a land out of here. Now they're at 3 life, facing 3 flying damage, so they could cast this as a 3/4 flyer from the grave and block with that, but if we draw any removal, we've got the win. If we draw any combat tricks, we're doing super great. Lots of good things to draw here, and our position on board is not that bad. We are going to go down to 8 here, though, so it is kind of close. If they have good cards in hand, then it could turn in their favor instead. We will see. So, Ghostly Castigator here, a 3/4 flyer, and shuffles a few cards from their grave back in, shuffling the Phantom Carriage, the Silver Bolt, and the 3/1 creature. If they cast another card here, they'll flip back to Day, which I'm actually a big fan of. They do, but it is a card that keeps our Behemoth tapped, which is a bummer. But now we get to draw another card off of Dawnguard, which I'm a big fan of. An Arrogant Outlaw, which is excellent here. Ooh, and Lice of Forgotten Archangel. We don't have enough mana to cast both. But we can cast one of them. We don't have any way to get damage in here because the Blood Tithe Collector gets blocked by their flyer. They can recast Winterhorn Blessing on their turn to tap down our Life Linker so that we can't block with it, but then we still have 2 blocks, so we can definitely block and survive. I think that's our best play here, is just the Angel, and then it's going to return everything that we block with to our hand, so we can make chump blocks a lot more freely. I think they have to just go for it here with the Winterhorn Blessing, but I don't see how they could grab lethal unless they have a second card in hand to push it through. A second Winterhorn Blessing would very much do it. They could tap all 3 of our blockers that way. But without it, should be pretty easy for us to find lethal on the crackback. With Arrogant Outlaw assisting us. So they attack with just the 6/7, block there, put it back to our hand. We take no damage here. And then we attack with our flyer. They have to block with Castigator. Attack with our Menace Creature. Actually, attack with our Menace Creature and flyer. That's just... They're just dead if they don't have another card in hand here. Because the Menace Creature has to be blocked by 2, so they'll need 3 blockers to survive our 2 creatures attacking them. And I definitely like making this block. They're playing a green deck. I don't want to just die to a pump spell. Especially when they already need to put another blocker out to survive this next turn. Sun Gold Barrage is the draw 2, so it looks like we really have the win here. Do we cast this pre-combat? I think we're supposed to cast this pre-combat. See what they have. They're already dead on board, but we need to know what this card is. Alright, still dead on board. Even if they have a removal spell here now. Or I guess, actually no, yeah, removal spell, they throw it on that one and they just gain the life there. Or let us gain the life there. Alright, well they're out of cards here, so... Pretty confident we've got this one. So they did have the way to survive one more turn, but it's going to take a very good draw there to get out of that. I suppose if we hadn't blocked with the 3/3 there, we would have had the kill 1 turn faster, but again, I feel like it's probably correct to play it safe, and 5 wins it is. 5 wins and 1 loss. Excellent place to be here. We are not only breaking even, we're getting a little bit of value. Going up in gyms and getting extra packs. So super happy with how this draft has gone. This has looked like a pretty mediocre white-black deck, all things considered. I think... the one that we played against with the Flesh Taker and all those Decayed Zombies, that is really what you want to be doing in the white-black archetype. Our deck is kind of just a collection of okay white-black cards. not super heavy on the synergy of the archetype. So a bit jealous of the other white-black deck that we played against. So a Rotten Reunion's going to start things off. They're just going to get some Decayed Zombies and... start going ham, I suppose. In blue-black here. Alright, pass turn. Here's our Cathar Commando. Our 2-mana card here. The 2-mana creatures have gotten so much better over time, it's kind of insane. We used to get a 2-mana 3/1 with no abilities and we were super happy, but now we have a 2-mana 3/1 with flash that can sacrifice to destroy an artifact or enchantment, and we're still kind of like, it's alright. It's an alright filler card for the deck. Definitely good on the play, on the aggressive. Right, Midnight Ambush to kill the 3/2, but it does drain them for that life when it comes into play at least. Stuck off the 4th mana here isn't great, but all of our 4 and 5 mana cards here are strong enough that they'll be powerful at any point in the game, and we can still curve out a little bit, still put more creatures on this board with our Hobbling Zombie. Another Rotten Reunion from our opponent for another Decayed Zombie. They can't block, but blue-black has a lot of ways to make use of them. And the glorious Resurrector herself is here. Whenever our creatures die, they will come back to their field with Decayed. So we just attack with the Death Toucher now, I suppose. And then play our Clarion Cathars. Yeah, so when our creatures die, they get exiled, and during their upkeep, they get them on their board as a decayed version. So yeah, we just attack with Hobbling Zombie here. And then cast our Clarion Cathars so that we have Coven when we cast our Dualcraft Trainer. Diregraph Horde, a 3/4 with 2 more Decayed Zombie tokens, and it exiles some cards from grave if they want to do that. Gavany Trapper is the draw. Would we rather Trapper or get some Double Strike going on? Let's get some Double Strike going on with Dualcraft Trainer. We start hitting for 4 a turn with Hobbling Zombie. Or we could give Double Strike to a 3/3, but then it would trade for the Diregraph Horde. Yeah, if we give Double Strike to Cathar's Commando, it trades for Diregraph Horde, and then they get a copy of it onto their board. I think I would rather give Double Strike to the Hobbling Zombie and just hit for 4. Because it's not like they're going to not block the Cathar's Commando. They'll take the trade. But they might not block Hobbling Zombie, and we just put them to 6. If they do block Hobbling Zombie, we just first strike, kill their blocker, and Hobbling Zombie lives another day. Siege Zombie from our opponent to start making us lose that life with all of those Decayed Zombies. Not bad at all. And we have the Forgotten Archangel herself. I wonder which ability wins here. If a creature an opponent controls would die, exile it instead. Whenever a creature dies, Jeesa's ability wins. Our creatures still get exiled even if we have Lisa on the board. So no reason to put her out pre-combat, so we go to our combat, do what we want to do here. I think we still want a Hobbling Zombie attack, because we first strike kill Siege Zombie. The only way to kill is the Glorious Resurrector blocking. I guess we throw Cathars the Double Strike, and they just chump with Siege Zombie still. Because either way, if they block with Gisa, we kill Gisa. Yeah, so let's actually do Cathar's Commando, I think. Because that'll do the most damage if they think that their Siege Zombie is valuable enough to not block with here. Could attack all. If we attack all, depending on what's in their hand, things could go pretty bad, and I think we're in a really good position to just send one in and get a Blood Tithe Collector out. I could see a pretty good argument for just attacking all here, though. Then they go like, they block there, take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They'd go to 4 life. But then they would get a lot of Decayed stuff on their board. Not a lot, but just like 1 or 2. Alright. They didn't take damage here, so Blood Tithe Collector is less good. We'll cast Lisa. Just a land from them. 2 more cards in hand to play around with, but only 1 thing that can block. They block whatever we give Double Strike to, which will be probably actually give Double Strike to the 2/2. Then we attack everything, take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Get in with Lisa. Ooh. They get to steal our life-linking Lisa Forgotten Archangel. Well, I want to cry. But we have Cathar's Commando, so we're good. So we'll just use it. And we have the mana for Blood Tithe Collector here, but now we don't just immediately lethal them. So it did do some work here. Alright, they scoop them up. It's probably going to give Double Strike to Cathars there, attack with that, and the Death Toucher. I'm too slow at like the board states like this. I'm always just scared of what they could possibly do. But our opponent knows what's in their hand, what's in their deck, and they're just going to get out of there. So 6-1 now for the Lisa Forgotten Angel deck. Forgotten Archangel. Not just an angel, but an archangel. One step above. So we're heading into round 8 now. Could be the final round if we win it. Otherwise, we do get one more chance after this, with only one loss under our belt thus far. So we're really missing on some of the like good black removal, like Defenestrate in this deck. There's like a couple things I don't love about this deck. We're missing great black removal like Defenestrate or Eaten Alive. We're also missing a lot of the synergies with Flesh Taker and just a lot of tokens. Kind of just white-black good stuff rather than the white-black sacrifice archetype. But our good stuff is good enough that it has been working out thus far. This is a pretty good example of one of those drafts where if you draft a powerful enough bomb rare, sometimes it is good to just stick to your colors for dear life, because I'm not so sure that black was particularly open. White was decently open. We got a lot of good white stuff, but some of our black stuff that we ended up having to run is kind of mediocre. We just don't have a lot of the high priority black cards. So here we are in round 8 against another Renin 7 avatar. Very popular one. We're on the play here. We need to hit a land. We need to hit a lot of lands, but we have both colors, 2 lands in hand. I am a big hater of mulliganing here on this channel, so we're gonna hope for the best, which is to hit a plains next turn, and then we're doing excellent, even if it takes a little while longer to hit lands. If we hit a land every turn, we're doing absolutely bonkers good here. So I don't actually want to trade Ritual of Hope for the Covetous Castaway because it does come back for good value later, so we're just going to cast Cathar's Commando here. Another blue-black deck here. Unblinking Observer coming out this turn. A 2/1. Taps for some mana for instants, sorceries, and disturb cards. Olivia's Midnight Ambush makes attacking pretty sweet here. We have Ritual of Hope or Midnight Ambush based on what happens. And we also, of course, they just have 2 creatures on board, so Vengeful Strangler can actually go off if they want to take that trade this early. No blocks on Cathar's Commando, just the 1/3 on the Strangler. I was getting a little worried there, because if they blocked Observer Commando and Castaway on Strangler, that'd be pretty bad for us. Because then I have to make some tough choices, but here it's really easy, I think. Yeah, we'll just actually clear out the Castaway now, and keep all our cards on board. Sure, they can get the Castaway back later, but it's going to require a lot of mana from them, and we milled their really bonkers Tainted Adversary here. A 2-mana 2/3. They can spend an extra 3 mana. And for every time they did that, they get twice that many counters. Wait, no, they get that many counters and twice that many zombies with Decayed. So for 5 mana, they get a 3/4 and 2 Decayed zombies. Yeah, Tainted Adversary would be a bonkers card if they ended up playing that here. And they're all non-lands, so happy to mill the cards that we did there. They do have the 5 mana now, thanks to Unblinking Observer, to cast their 3/4 flyer, Disturbed, from the grave. If they do that and we hit a land, we can just get it with Sun Gold Barrage. But it looks like they choose to cast Falcon Abomination instead. Silverbolt is the draw from us. Not super happy about that. We'll just keep attacking in with everybody. Whatever trades happen, we're okay with. So the 3/1 into the 2/2 flyer. Take 2, they go to 15. Like, the least happy thing, the play I'd be the least happy with at any point here, like last attack or this attack, would be them trading Strangler for Observer. But that's like the worst case scenario block for them to make, and even then we're doing okay here. Like, just get the board clear and slap this onto the Decayed Zombie so they can't use it at a later time. Ritual of Hope does not save either creature because they only have 1 toughness, so just have it happen. So yeah, now they have to just attack with this zombie next turn or they're not getting anything out of it. Morbid Opportunist. Well, they are getting something out of it then. Big bummer. Always a terrifying time to see that card. We need 1 mana to blow it up. Any mana? Looks like the Morbid Opportunist lives another day. And here comes the Castigator, shuffling some cards back into their deck and being a 3/4 flyer. Looks like we're going to get punished for our keep this game again. Organ Hoarder from our opponent. Draws a card when they play it. Very good deal. Very nice enter the battlefield effect on that card. There is the 3rd land to get rid of the Opportunist. Kind of need to get rid of that before I get rid of anything else. But I do have the Sun Gold Barrage to deal with the flyer as well. There's the Falcon Abomination. So a lot of flying power here. Plus, our creature isn't big enough to trade with Hoarder. So, probably stuck on mana too long this game. Now we're just too far on the back pedal. Yeah, because if I barrage the flyer, I don't have enough to block anything and survive, so I just take 7, or chump block with mob. I go to 1 life, or I chump block. Neither of those are good. And barrage is pretty much the only play I have here. I could play a 3/2 to trade with that, but then I take 5 in the sky. Just take that twice. Yeah, no, it seems pretty over to me. Punished for the risky keep. When will the greedy ever be rewarded? We got rewarded in several of our other games, so it's all good. This is bound to happen. The Corpse Cobble is incredibly lethal. I'm surprised they didn't cobble the Hoarder there. Because Corpse Cobble makes a menace XX, so that if they wanted, they could sack their whole board, because I'd be completely tapped out there. They just hit us with an 8 power menace creature. Corpse Cobble has been taking some names against me lately. It's a very good response to any removal spell for sure. And good in the deck with the Decayed Zombies, because then you're adding the Decayed Zombies power to your Cobbled Corpse as well. So here we are with the actual factual final boss, with a hand that is not a risky keep whatsoever. It's just a wonderful hand. Not playing anything until turn 3, but the cards we're playing on turn 3 are excellent. The Gavany Dawnguard, the Arrogant Outlaw, the Clarion Cathars, which is a perfect lead-in to the Morcrit Behemoth for that early 7/6 menace. Well, now we do have a card to play on turn 2 if our opponent plays a priority creature here, which is possible. Bait Hook Angler is not what I would call a priority creature, because it will come right back from the grave after we remove it. They'll bring it back as a flyer, so don't want to spend removal on that. Another blue-black deck here. It's very early in the format to tell, but blue-black is a front runner for the most popular deck in the format. Lots of people saying that black and blue are the strongest colors. Again, I feel like it's too early in the format to tell for sure, but the fact that a bunch of people believe that means you are going to run up against a ton of blue-black, and it is going to be one of the more heavily drafted archetypes at this point. I could pass turn and just Midnight Ambush the Abomination, that way I draw a card from Dawnguard, potentially. Like if I want to remove that here, and I kind of do. I guess if they double block, then I can shoot Abomination there, but otherwise we'll plan to shoot the Abomination during their turn, that way we can flip tonight. Because I think I'd rather draw a card plus shoot Abomination rather than just play one creature like Shady Traveler, although Shady Traveler would be okay. So hopefully they don't have the 3 mana counter spell unless your opponent pays 4 here. That would make this play a bit of a bummer, but otherwise seems pretty solid to me. I guess we would tap them out here if we do that. If they choose to counter this here, they're countering a spell during their turn, which means they don't have the mana to counter one of my spells during my turn, so I suppose even if they have that, this is a pretty fine line, pretty solid line. Organ Hoarder is the play for the turn. Excellent. A blue creature, you're going to be seeing a lot of those in this format against pretty much anybody playing blue. Same with the Falcon Abomination, those are kind of the top 2. Bait Hook Anglers are nice as well. All 3 of those cards being pretty powerful for different reasons, which is cool. Ooh, they put an Organ Hoarder and a Foul Play in their discard, so their deck is pretty excellent looking, and that means they drew a really powerful card off of that one. If they chose something other than those 2. So that's got to be pretty scary. So Dawnguard doesn't attack in well anymore because the Organ Hoarder just trades. I guess we could Ritual of Hope, but I don't want to do that. I'd rather now just get a creature out. So let's get our Shady Traveler. It is nighttime, so it's a 4/4 menace. That is pretty threatening on this board. If you've played the original Innistrad or Shadows over Innistrad, it is incredibly hard to get used to the fact that your werewolves can come in as the backside of the card. I always forget that. Just anytime that it's night, you're going to be playing the nighttime side of the card. You're going to be playing Stalking Predator, which is just excellent. Vampire Interloper. No creatures to pick up there. We do draw land for turn, which is pretty sweet. Kind of want to run out the Cathars here. Could play Siege Zombie Unruly Mob, then we have Coven for Ritual of Hope later. But I really want to be able to block Organ Hoarder well. I feel like trading our 3/3 into it is not bad. I guess trading our 2/2 Siege Zombie into it isn't bad, although we've seen how good Siege Zombie's ability can be later in the game. Trading off a Siege Zombie when we have an Unruly Mob on board, probably super fine. So maybe Siege Zombie Unruly Mob, and then they might not even attack because they don't want the 3/2 to trade into a 2/2. Although Cathars also gives us a really good blocker for the 2/1, but we already have a 3/3 to block the 2/1. We don't need a 1/1 token to do so. I'm gonna go Siege Zombie Mob here. So we're at 13, taking 2 a turn now from Vampire Interloper, so we're definitely under some pressure. What, that's like a 7-turn clock. So it's not that bad, and we have a lot of great cards to cast throughout this game here. Phantom Carriage is going to speed up that clock exponentially. We have 2 turns now to find an answer to these flyers. Otherwise, we're taking 6 damage a turn, go to 5 life, then go to -1 here. So we're going to need to get some of our removal here. We've got our gold thing that can kill the 4 toughness thing, or one of our bolts can kill the 1 toughness thing. Alright, land is good too. We are still wanting to get to 5 mana for the behemoth. Although we're not really in a position to play the behemoth and try to outrace them here. We're taking 6 here. We get 1 turn after this to try to kill them if we're not using removal. Maybe we could try to get them to block with the Phantom Carriage and use Ritual of Hope to finish that off. So try to go for some somewhat aggressive attacks here. If they don't make blocks, we get to play more creatures to block with, and if they do make blocks, we get to Ritual of Hope. Yeah, we can Ritual of Hope and still cast like an Arrogant Outlaw or a Shady Traveler here. So I don't know if we attack all 3. We don't attack all 3, just Dawnguard Siege Zombie here. Really hoping that the Phantom Carriage gets into combat. It does not, so they're going to try to crack back for lethal by attacking with everybody. We hit for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. With Ritual of Hope, we would hit for 9, put them to 7 life. Right now we're hitting for 5, putting them to 9 life. Put them to 7 life, cast an Arrogant Outlaw to drain them for 2 more life to put them to 5. And that puts us up to 13, which makes us dead in 2 hits. That seems solid to me. Although if we wait on the Ritual Hope till later, it could do more damage and possibly find lethal. Put them to 9. We have an Unruly Mob. What if we have... like, Cathars would be the only other play. If I'm not playing Ritual of Hope here to go Ritual of Hope Outlaw, we just go like Cathars here. I feel like Ritual of Hope Outlaw is enough to block these things if I'm scared of dying. I don't love not having Ritual of Hope for the future to potentially find lethal out of nowhere. Although maybe we could play Shady Traveler instead and try to have the 2 damage from Outlaw be the lethal out of nowhere. I like having like surprise lethal somewhere. But gaining life here is really good against this here. So let's gain the life, get to 13. So we're dead in 3 hits from the flyers. And now they're even dead to a few hits from Siege Zombie. Whale Drifter, another flyer here, the 2/2 flyer. Unfortunately, that does make us still dead to flying next turn. So we have to kill them this turn. We don't have any way to get extra damage out in our hand, so we just click all attack and see what happens. What happens is they don't die. What happens is they can block with only these and survive, but maybe they'll block with Whale Drifter. Yep, it's our only hope here, so... we need them to block with Whale Drifter. And have Whale Drifter die. Okay. That is game then. I'm gonna play one more blocker, take 8 in the sky. So that'll end this run at 6-3. Unfortunately, very close one there. Maybe if we had lined it differently to have +2/+1 in the end, instead of on that turn, we could have found the lethal there, because they might not have expected it. Yeah, I feel like that game, a different line might have gotten us to the 7-3. That's probably the closest we've been to finding lethal in an optional way of playing there. Had we played like our 4 mana 3/3 plus a 1/1 and just hit for the 5 damage that turn, then the turn after that, attack with everybody, we have 2 more creatures on the board, then give everything +2/+1 and drain them for 2 life. I think it's actually relatively possible that they would block it away, not expecting all of that extra damage, because that's an extra 2 damage per creature on the board. We'd have a lot more creatures on the board, playing 2 more the turn previously. And then not only that, but an extra 2 damage at the very end with the life drain. So probably took the wrong line there. We might have been able to find lethal the other way around. So a bit of a bummer way to end it, but 6-3 is still a great record. And I would say most of our losses here were user errors. So the deck actually worked out a lot better than it looked like. We kept some risky hands for some losses, and then that last game I think I just found the wrong line. Definitely misplayed in the end, but still a 6-3 run. Not bad at all for that Innistrad Midnight Hunt Premier Draft. As always, if you're enjoying these videos and you want to see more, just stick around on the channel. There will be plenty more coming soon. You can like, comment, and subscribe if you'd like to let the YouTube algorithm know that you want to see more and want to spread the videos around to yourself and others. So other than that, you can check out the Twitch channel in the description below for some live practice drafts I do now and then on the Twitch. And as always, thank you very much for watching. I'll be back again very soon with some more Magic Arena.